That's like a casual Jedi outfit right there.
Casual Jedi. It's Jedi Outfitters.
Yeah, right.
Jedi Outfitters is stupid.
Shoot, you bastard! Shoot!
Dude, if you're a sex addict, do you really have time to plan out a multi-venue crime spree? I mean,
Seriously.
you're not really committed to your addiction at that point. You know what I mean? You'd think it would slow him down at least a little bit. How many times he'd have to stop and have sex.
I don't have any violent impulses when I come, just right before.
Yeah.
When I come,
I have no violence involved with anything. I literally none sexually.
Oh, look at the gay guy who makes love to his wife.
That's right. Oh, okay, shit. Were you going to tell me headlines here? Remember we talked about this earlier? I got literally.
No, you were gonna.
Ah!
I was going to tell you were going to write jokes, and then you were going to say the jokes, and then we were going to respond in kind with like, jokes are fun.
Oops. What topically we got? What is it? Yes. What do you want? I'm assuming we need to be. You talk about when I say. So I'm assuming that I should be writing, as long as this is topical, that we should be writing some stuff about the riots, which I'm assuming are happening. Well, the ones I'm assuming are happening.
We're going to begin with the protests erupting once again on the streets.
Once again, no joke there. You know, this is a terrible monologue because I got no jokes. Okay, because I've been writing. I don't give a fuck about the world because I just think. Now I'm in one of those things where I don't care about the stories of the world. There's a volcano erupting in Iceland, but I just don't care about the topical world, you know. So the stuff I've been writing has been. I don't know how you guys are about girls you're with, but I can't even fathom like that sexually. Again, I get nothing from thinking of my wife with somebody else. You know what I mean? Like that is the opposite of turning me on to watch her have sex with somebody else. I don't even want to hear about it. Right? My wife dated the Mentos guy 20 something years ago way before we even met. And you offer me a Mentos now? And I'm like, no, fuck that. No, all I hear is other men that have fucked my wife toast. You know what I mean? I don't want anything to do with it. That's what I'm saying. That's right. And you know what? You kids today with your eating the ass, leave me out of that. Okay. I want nothing to do. I'm sorry. I know it's a thing everybody's into, but I just have no desire. Maybe. Why are we not talking about the fact that the Arctic is melted and we're all going to be dead in 5 years? How are we fucking just not even mentioning that?
We should be talking about that, but we're not. We're tired of that stuff. We're exhausted mentally. Some of us. I don't care. But yeah, that's why we're not talking about it. People just want to get high right now.
Sense.
Go get some strange that they ain't seen in about a year and fucking. Not did you see what happened in Miami last week during spring break? That was a complete release of fucking. That was all the fucking they've been holding in for a whole year. They just let it all out in one good weekend, and it was glorious. It was glorious. There was bitches fighting in the streets. It was great. It was awesome. I loved every bit of it. Yeah. It's gonna be a super spreader event. We're gonna have to lock this shit back down for another 6 months.
I thought that was just Miami.
Yes.
Welcome to Miami.
But you know, the thing that did make the comeback was the shootings, right? The mass shootings and people going into grocery stores and killing everybody.
Thank God
right. Things
are finally getting back to normal.
That's right.
Clean up aisles 1 through 12.
You know what I mean? Like,
Tom, honest question. Do you have a favorite mass shooter?
we should have guns in church to protect ourselves. Come on. Church is supposed to be a safe place where only critical thinking gets killed.
Damn.
He did it. He found a way. He got it in. Tom, how are these, with all these jokes about how we're all going to die in 5 years due to environmental disaster and mass shootings, How the hell did you get hired to write for a sitcom?
I was friends with the star. I got lucky, and Miss Pat, who has been working towards having a show for 3 years, the comedian Miss Pat, she's hilarious. If you don't know her, you should look her up or listen to her on Rogan or whatever. She's very funny. You know, she just thinks I'm a good joke writer and quite frankly, a white voice, and also someone that I think that she believed would be honest with her and say what he thought instead of dancing around it, you know?
How well did that go?
On the pilot, it went great. And then, and then it was another year. And then we did Zoom writing, and she sort of had to force a couple of us into the room, right? Like as writers, she had to take a stand and be like, I want these people in there. And they're like, well, they're not sitcom writers, blah, blah, blah. And then they also have another showrunner that they had to have that wasn't Jordan, you know what I mean? Wasn't the show creator. So it was a weird dynamic. I don't know. I've never really been in a comedy writing room. So it was Zoom writing for about 3 months, and I was pulling my hair out and miserable. And then I'd be like, oh, this is fun. And then I'd be, you know, it's frustrating to not know what you're doing really, but also know you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like at the same time.
Do you feel like being a white writer on a black show, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like you have to approach everything gingerly, or are you able to express yourself freely with the subject matter?
And also, whatever you say, good, you deserve it.
You know how so black people have this a lot where when they're in like a white situation in an office or in a school, like an overwhelming amount of white people, the language changes, right? There's sort of a white speak that happens, right, as opposed to the way people talk when they're with their friends and family, and you know, and I think we all do that naturally. I think our brains adapt, and we sort of become like, if you're hanging out with a bunch of different people, you start to have that sort of flavor or that stale, whatever it is, you sort of start to incorporate, or I do at least. That's how I am. And
yeah, white people.
When I'm doing that in a black writer's room, it was annoying as fuck to almost every writer. Like, Tom, you stop sounding racist. And I'm like, I'm just talking. Like, no, you're not.
What? I'm just pronouncing all the words right.
No. Like one time, for instance, I'll remember this for the rest of my life. Like, it'll be one of those things where I look in the rearview mirror and I'm just like, I relive that fucking horrible shame of it, you know? But the character was like, I can't even remember the line, but it ended with the N word. And I was going to the pitch. I leaned literally right in between the show creator and the showrunner. And I was like, she should say, and I was focused on the other words that I thought she needed to tweak and change. Wait,
yeah. You were telling me about this. This is the one about the Asian delivery driver.
Oh yes, she should say, I thought that was going to be the sweet and sour, and it was, the line was that he's a sweet and sour N-word, you know, and I was talking about flipping a couple words, and I just said she should say blah 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 and I just said, and it was like, it creates that instant silence and an instant like, oh fuck, floor, please open up and consume me,
soak it in.
But it was, yes, yeah. And the other time was maybe.
Wait, hold on, I don't want you to let go of this. I don't want you to let go of this because I think this is hilarious. That for this show, for Miss Pat,
in any way.
Well, here's why it is. For BET Plus, you guys are arguing over the N-word in this situation for the sweet and sour, completely ignoring the absolute racism towards Asians that this joke is.
They don't count.
Oh, that's not true. Because actually the episode that I wrote, which I'm not even allowed to say out loud because not for any reasons, but it has the N-word in it. Like my name, like it's called Sticks and Stones N-word. And like, so I can't even say the name of the episode that I wrote on the show. But the episode ends up being great, and but going back to the Asian thing, because the episode is basically about the kids are trying to tell her, you can't use these words just because you're used to using them, and she's like I gotta be me, and they're like, yeah, but sometimes being you, blah blah blah, and they call her out on saying that she was going to Jap slap somebody, and she's like, I can't say Jap slap. And they're like, no, you can't say. And so she sort of talks that through, and she's like, I have nothing against Asian people. I remember watching Bruce Lee, and he was Jap slapping everybody. And then so the network made us rewrite and reshoot that, like literally on the last day of shooting, because they were like, we can't do that. We can't have any Asians. And we're like, that's the one where everybody freaks out and leaves the room on, actually. And we were like, that's the point of the whole episode, is don't use these words. And they were like, you have to. So Jordan did something that to me was pretty genius. He changed it and got it approved when she made fun of retarded people.
Yeah, I know it. I
And
fucking knew it.
And so they made it so we changed.
Retards are fine. They don't write letters.
They don't protest.
Yes, it felt terrible. It was like, you can't. This is even worse. She just said, it just seemed worse.
Yeah, you're just saying, hey, on the list of things, we can all agree that Asians are better than retards.
The editing and stuff is out of all of our hands.
The editing stuff is out of all of our hands.
Awesome. Hey, man, thank you so much. We got to do 2 other segments, but we wanted to get yours out
Sorry,
of the way.
I kept you an hour.
I really appreciate you. And we're going to do everything we can to make you not look bad.
I appreciate that. That's going to be, that's where editing is fucking genius.
I have no violence involved with anything. I literally none sexually. I have no violence. My wife dated the Mentos guy 20-something years ago, way before we even met. And you offer me a Mentos now?
Right, my wife dated the Mentos guy.
So I'm counting on you, Joey.
How much anxiety do you get when you work with Jay, and then you say these things, and then there's 3 months before it comes out? Do you just boil on that, or you just kind of trust him?
To be honest, I don't ever watch or listen to anything I do. So.
It doesn't matter what comes, fresh goes better in life. With Mentos fresh and full of life. Nothing gets to you, staying fresh, staying cool. With Mentos fresh and full of life. Fresh goes better. Mentos freshness. Fresh goes better with Mentos fresh and full of life.
Bomboni Mentos, anapati tu.